Right now, the snow has stopped. Our next concern is the unseasonable cold that could reach record lows. And a Veterans Day ceremony at the Capitol, how a former UW-Madison student and decorated veteran is being honored. Plus, a new unit in the Dane County Jail is helping incarcerated veterans get the help they need to get back on their feet.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 6.
We start with breaking news into the Channel 3000 Alert Center. Officials at Madison West High School are investigating an Instagram account they say is filled with hate speech. In a statement from the principal, says the page has since been taken down, but many families, students, and alumni are concerned. Principal Karen Baran emphasized in a letter to parents that the page was not created by a group of West High School students. As the Instagram page stated, she says teachers had discussions about hate speech and bigotry today at school. Well, you need to take it slow on the road tonight. The accumulating snow from overnight and this morning is over, but drivers could run into plenty of slippery spots out there. We have team coverage tonight. Amanda Quintana has a live update on those road conditions, plus how road crews are preparing for temperatures to drop. But first, let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti, who has more on the near record cold heading our way. Gary.
We have alert days in the forecast for cold or near record cold temperatures. We also are expecting a couple of flurries yet this evening. We're seeing just a few of those show up on high resolution Doppler radar, but they shouldn't add to the snow that's already on the ground, which in most cases is somewhere in the 2 to 5 inch range, at least from Madison southward. Temperatures right now are in the middle teens. We're already down to 16 degrees in Madison with a wind chill barely above 0 at 1, and there are below 0 wind chills already to our north and to our west. By tomorrow morning, I'm expecting a low temperature of 4 degrees. That would break the record low of 7 set back in 1986, and tomorrow will be unseasonably cold with a high temperature only reaching 18, about 25 degrees below average. Later on, I'll take a look at a forecast that includes at least a little bit of a warm-up as we head into next week.
All right, Gary, thank you. The Madison Streets Division says the cold is to blame for keeping the roads slippery during your morning commute. Amanda Quintana live now on the west side with what they're doing now. Amanda?
Yes, well, as the day went on, those roads got warmer, so the salt was actually able to work. But of course, as Gary just spoke about, right now it is going to freeze again. So your evening commute is what we're worried about. 32 plows were out at 2 a.m. today, and they were going on those main thoroughfares in Madison, and they started to lay salt down, salting Madison's main thoroughfares. The Streets Division said that they did not pre-treat the roads with brine ahead of last night's snow because once it gets below 20 degrees, that prevents it from helping much anyway.
By the time we saw what was going to happen, we didn't have the staff or time to be able to get out there to apply the brine to those streets, assuming that it would have even done anything because the temperatures were so cold.
Brian Johnson says this cold paired with the snow is something they're used to seeing in December or January, but they're dealing with 2 seasons at once. Right now, still picking up leaves. Those are the same people that are driving those plows that are picking up the leaves, so it's a lot at once for them. But they are out right now. They've switched from that salt to sand, so they're laying down sand. They're hoping that that can help get you some traction as these roads are freezing again tonight.
All right, Amanda, thank you. And several flights from Madison to Chicago were delayed today. This morning, an American Eagle flight from North Carolina slid off the runway at O'Hare due to icy conditions. As snow was falling, the plane's landing gear snapped, tipping that jet onto its wing. All 38 passengers and 3 crew members were able to get off that plane safely. More residents in downtown Madison will have to follow alternate side parking restrictions during snow emergencies. The current snow emergency zone includes the isthmus between South Park Street and the Ohio River, plus a handful of neighborhoods right now. The city of Madison is expanding the zone to include more streets near Regent Street. The zone will expand even more next winter, and we have more details at channel3000.com. A reminder to download our First Alert weather app. It has custom-made forecasts based on your location. Radar showing when snow will move through and traffic conditions as well. And speaking of traffic, it's flowing much better on Verona Road as we see in the Sky 3 perspective earlier today. As of this morning, 3 lanes were open in each direction between Raymond Road and Highway PD. Crews will still be out working on traffic signal timing at the PD Verona Road intersection. In 2020, crews will reconstruct and expand PD and make the final changes to the Verona Road interchange at County Highway PD, and that project's scheduled to be complete in the fall of next year. Today at the state capitol, the Madison Veterans Council and Governor Tony Evers, along with U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin, all paid tribute to our veterans. Jamie Perez joins us. She has more from today's ceremony. Jamie?
Yeah, we have actually quite the story. As a former paratrooper and Second Lieutenant Thomas J. Lucas Jr. was honored during that ceremony today. The 97-year-old earned 4 Purple Hearts throughout his service, and Lucas served during World War II, storming the beach of Normandy on D-Day. He was wounded, then sent back, and wounded again.
Later in the Battle of the Bulge, Tom was wounded again, this time by a German MG-42 machine gun, and that was not good. Tom developed gangrene in his leg. That ended Tom's combat service in World War II, but he didn't lose his leg.
After many months spent in Army hospitals, Lucas returned to Madison, where he completed his undergraduate degree. He finished his he put his master's degree on hold to serve in the Korean War. After 69 years, he then finally received his master's degree in social work. Today, Governor Evers also commended him for his service with a certificate, and Lucas has also received 4 Purple Hearts.
Amazing story to hear his story, but also just a day to recognize all of our veterans for all their service.
Yes.
Jamie, thank you so much. In honor of Veterans Day, Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett has approved the development of a tiny home village for veterans. It was inspired by an existing veterans community in Racine. The Milwaukee Village will include 50 homes and a community center. Veterans Outreach of Wisconsin is raising money to make the plans a reality. Construction is set to begin this spring. And the Packers honored veterans yesterday with their first ever Huddle for Heroes. As part of the organization's Salute to Service efforts, Packers players got together with military veterans playing interactive games offered at Titletown. Afterwards, veterans got a tour of Lambeau Field. The Dane County Jail has created a veterans housing unit, the first of its kind in Wisconsin. It's to provide support for incarcerated veterans. Gabriella Becerra joins us to share how barracks behind bars is different than other jail cells. Gabby?
The unit is called Barracks Behind Bars because it's run just like a military barrack. Even the deputies and sergeant that oversee the unit are veterans as well. This unit is a part of the Veterans Court, which looks into why these veterans became involved with the criminal justice system in the first place.
We owe them.
A new unit at the Dane County Jail keeps veterans together.
It's run much like a military barrack.
The purpose is to address the reasons these veterans became engaged with the criminal justice system in the first place.
We want to address those issues, not the criminality, but the issues that brought them into the criminal justice system in the very first place, so that we can return them into our communities as the dignified, respected veterans that they are.
Many of these issues, Sheriff Dave Mahoney says, is a result of their service.
The reason these veterans have become engaged in the criminal justice system oftentimes is because of actions that they've seen or experiences that they were engaged in while members of the military.
Since they've opened the Veterans Unit less than a year ago, they've seen improvement on both the inside and out.
We see a relationship that's built on the culture of the military in how individuals interact with each other.
The Dane County Veterans Office works with the jail to help these veterans get the benefits available to them.
It's important to make sure that we don't let anybody fall through the cracks. There are so many veterans out there that still are unaware of benefits that they may have available to them, both as a veteran themselves and even as survivors of veterans. So I think that the Veterans Pod is just yet another form of outreach.
And overall, help these veterans back into society.
Treat these individuals with the respect and dignity that they deserve, in hopes that through the programming we reduce the recidivism and get them back on track to be productive citizens.
One veteran says there is a difference between the barracks and other units. He says there is a higher level of maturity between unit mates in the barracks.
All right, Gabriella Becerra reporting. Gabby, thank you. Columbia Correctional Institution in Portage is on lockdown after a staff member was assaulted. The Department of Corrections says the lockdown started after the assault on Friday. A spokesperson says there were 2 separate staff assaults in recent weeks. The lockdown will continue until corrections officials believe it is safe. Governor Tony Evers has issued 8 more pardons recommended by the newly restarted Pardons Board. Among those, a man convicted of possessing marijuana and carrying a concealed weapon, and a woman convicted of stealing and selling hot tubs. The pardons come a month after the governor issued Wisconsin's first pardons in 9 years. The Wisconsin Agriculture Secretary, fired by the Republican-controlled Senate last week, now has a new job. Brad Paff has been hired as the Director of Business and Rural Development for the State Department of Administration. The announcement comes less than a week after his confirmation as Ag Secretary was rejected. Republicans were upset with Paff because he criticized them for not quickly releasing funding for farmer mental health services. Next at 6, DACA advocates are ready to march in Wisconsin and across the country as the Supreme Court prepares to rule on the future for undocumented young people. And a Madison woman says her conversation with an Uber driver meant more to him than she could ever imagine. Why she's asking for help getting in touch with him. That's tonight on News 3 Now at 10. Advocates for the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program are preparing to march in Madison and across the country. Tomorrow, the U.S. Supreme Court will decide the fate of nearly 700,000 Dreamers who were brought to the United States as undocumented children. The Trump administration has tried to roll back the program, but lower courts have ruled against those efforts. Madison advocates will meet at the state capitol tomorrow at 11:30. Rock County dispatchers have a new tool to help them more accurately track the location of 911 callers. According to the Janesville Gazette, a company formed by former FCC commissioners created this technology. Dispatchers can enter the caller's cell phone number, and Google Maps locates them almost instantly. Then the phone's movements can be tracked. The paper reports the technology only works if someone calls 911. Police officers have to have a search warrant signed by a judge in order to use it. One thing police in our area keep responding to is car thefts. Danica Lewis joins us with the latest numbers and might have you checking those locks tonight, Danica.
Eric, that's right. Yes, we know we sound like a broken record, but yes, apparently we still all need to hear it. 343 cars were reported stolen from January to October this year here in Madison. Guys, that's more than a car a day. I actually looked through the police reports, and the trend is pretty clear. The suspects, primarily teenagers, are looking for cars left unlocked in a driveway with garage door openers inside, and then they let themselves in through the door between the garage and the house, which is often unlocked and often where we put, yes, our car keys. I spoke with Teresa Waggy. She is a UW police security supervisor who's actually trained to think like a burglar.
So we would look at the exterior doors, the entry points, including access doors as well as windows, HVAC systems, and then kind of work our way in. It's kind of like an onion, if you will, and you have layers to work through.
A number of recommendations WAGI comes up with for buildings on campus can actually apply to our homes. We'll share more of her advice and see what kinds of tactics one police chief in our area is using to protect his own family tonight at 10. But everyone, as the temperature continues to drop, try and resist that urge to start the car and warm it up, leaving it unattended. At least 2 cars that were stolen last month alone were running at the time of the crime. We know it's common sense, Eric, but we hope we can share a few new solutions with folks tonight.
No, it really is something to keep in mind as the weather gets cold. Danica, thank you. And speaking of that, more local news, the Merrimack Ferry is set to close for the season. According to the DOT, there's just a week left to take the free ferry across the Wisconsin River between Sauk and Columbia counties. The final crossing will be next Monday at 9 a.m. A Republican lawmaker bringing back a resolution that would officially declare the evergreen placed in the state capitol each year a Christmas tree. Governor Evers called it a holiday tree on Friday, a departure from his predecessor, Scott Walker. Representative Scott Krug's resolution to declare it the Wisconsin state Christmas tree cannot pass before the holidays because the Assembly's last floor session in 2019 is tomorrow, and co-sponsors have until Friday to sign on to the proposal. New at 6, Pabst Brewing has announced it is moving most of its volume to La Crosse's city brewing facilities. The transition is expected to happen by 2024, and the agreement lasts until 2040. It's not clear yet how this may impact City Brewery. Coming up in sports, the Packers aren't considering their bye week a break, but they do get to spend it in a good mood after a win Sunday over the Carolina Panthers. And it's time to start talking wind chill. Gary with an update on these dropping temperatures and possible record cold over the next few days. Stay with us.
Well, when it's this cold, I suppose it's better to take a look at the file from when you think this is bad, it could have been a lot worse. And on this day, back in 1940, the historic Armistice Day blizzard started as an area of low pressure down in Kansas. That storm headed toward the northeast, and as it did so, Madison and much of Wisconsin was on the warm side of the storm. So we had mild southerly winds pushing temperatures into the 50s and 60s. There were a lot of duck hunters that were out on the Mississippi River near La Crosse as temperatures started out warm. But the ducks, sensing the change in the weather, started flying southward. They said it was great duck hunting weather. Unfortunately, as the storm system roared past. Very strong winds on the backside brought blizzard conditions through much of Iowa, Minnesota, and northwestern Wisconsin, and there was a precipitous drop in temperatures, in some cases 40 to 50 degrees in just a few hours. With those winds of 50 to 80 miles per hour and up to 27 inches of snow in Minnesota, over 24 duck hunters froze to death on islands in the central portion of the Mississippi River because they couldn't get off the islands. The waves are too high with those strong winds, and the temperatures dropped, and there was literally no place for them to go. So our cold temperatures tonight, we don't have to deal with anything that drastic, but still, our low temperature of 4 would break the record low of 7 set back in 1986. The record cold high temperature for tomorrow is 16, set back in 1940, right after the Armistice Day blizzard. 18 is our predicted high temperature, so we're going to be close to that. And then on Wednesday, temperatures will rebound a little bit, but it'll still be very cold, and we could be looking at an inch or two of snow accumulation to add to the 3 to 6 inches that's mainly on the ground from Madison southward, and 1 to 3 inches in the northern parts of our viewing area. As far as the latest snowfall, about 5 inches in Broadhead, a little over 3 inches here at the station, but the farther north and west you go, the less these snow amounts, only a ½ inch in Gotham in Richland County. And you can see from the major reporting stations, Milwaukee and Madison so far have set records for the day, and we haven't have the official totals in yet. A few flurries are out there right now. Temperatures over the next 12 hours continue to drop to that record low of 4 by tomorrow morning. As we check out the almanac for today, our high temperature was early this morning. That was at a balmy 26 degrees. We're now at our low for the day of 16, and the wind chill makes it feel like it's 1 degree above zero, and those wind chills could be as cold as 15 below zero by tomorrow morning. So look for record cold temperatures tonight as any of the evening flurries end, and then it turns clear and record cold to the low of 4 tomorrow. Look for partly sunny skies, but an unseasonably cold day with a high temperature of only 18 degrees. That's about 25 degrees below average. Future track, a couple of flurries this evening. We clear out overnight. That fresh snow cover allows temperatures to drop into the single digits. Highs tomorrow only in the upper teens. We drop a couple of degrees tomorrow night, and then those temperatures start to rise as winds pick up out of the south, and we'll be back in the 20s on Wednesday, but we'll see some light snow with maybe an inch or two of accumulation. After that, look for temperatures to rebound a couple of degrees each day. That's the good news. We'll be in the low 40s by early next week. Maybe a drop in temperatures toward the end of next week.
Well, it certainly was a snowy morning around here, but Badger linebacker Chris Orr says you haven't seen anything yet. Stories coming up in sports. Some bad news for the Milwaukee Bucks. Chris Middleton will miss 3 to 4 weeks with a left thigh bruise. They say there's no serious damage to the leg, but Chris Middleton will be out 3 to 4 weeks for the Bucks. The Packers are beginning their bye week, and they've earned a break after beating Carolina 24-16 at Lambeau Field yesterday to go to 8-2 on the season. It was a winter wonderland at Lambeau. Great to watch on TV, not so great to sit in for 3 hours and drive home. Boy, was that goal line stand at the end of the game something. The Packers somehow kept Christian McCaffrey out of the end zone in the final play of the game. That'll get you into the bye week in a pretty good mood.
Just because it's a bye week, it doesn't mean it's a week off of doing anything. We want to make sure that guys are staying working out so that when we come back, we don't have any issues come up.
The Packers are 8-2, but they just can't shake the Minnesota Vikings. Last night, the Vikings won in Dallas 28-24. It was the first time Kirk Cousins won a road game against a team with a winning record as the Vikings quarterback. He was 0-9-1 before last night's win. Those Vikings just a game behind the Packers in the NFC North with their rematch coming up at US Bank Stadium December 23rd. Again, the Packers off this week. The Vikings host Denver this Sunday. The Badger football team got back on track with a win against Iowa Saturday. Now it's time to go back on the road at Nebraska. An 11 a.m. kickoff with the Cornhuskers Saturday. All last week we said the Wisconsin-Iowa game was an elimination game in the race for the Big Ten West title. So the Badgers are still in it. Still 2 games behind, still undefeated Minnesota. It's hard not to look ahead to what the final week showdown with the Gophers in Minneapolis might bring, but the Badgers have to stay focused on the battle for the Freedom Trophy Saturday.
Yeah, obviously we watch football too, so and we're fans of football as well, and we see what's going on, but we know that we just got to focus on ourselves, and right now it's Nebraska, and there's a trophy for it, and we'll bring it home.
The Badger women's soccer team got its bid to the NCAA tournament this afternoon. The Badgers are a number 3 seed. They'll host Milwaukee in a first-round game Friday afternoon at 5. It's the 4th straight year Badger women's soccer has made the NCAA tournament. A former Madison Mallard is the National League Rookie of the Year. Pete Alonso was the Northwoods League Player of the Year here in 2014 with the Mallards. This season he played for the New York Mets, had one of the greatest rookie seasons in Major League history, set a rookie record, 53 homers, drove in 120 runs for the Mets. Pete Alonso, the National League Rookie of the Year. The weather this morning was not great for driving or walking to class if you're a college student. Badger linebacker Chris Orr is from DeSoto, Texas. He says today was nothing.
People don't know that February is the worst month. That's why I be telling people. I'm like, man, they be like, man, you got to play in that. I'm like, listen, that's not the bad part. It's going to class in February. Like, that's the bad part. My freshman year, my eyelashes froze. I came out the shower from winter workouts, was going to class, and my eyelashes froze.
Doesn't happen in DeSoto, Texas,
No. We've been there. Yeah. And tomorrow morning they might freeze if you get out of the shower, right? We're talking record colds, and you say it's pretty much going to happen.
I think we're right on track for it. High-resolution Doppler showing just a few flurries out there, especially near the Mississippi River. Otherwise, those temperatures are already in the middle teens. These are actually a couple degrees below what I had them projected as, so it's possible it could even get colder than that forecast low of 4. But look at the wind chills right now, right around 0, and highs tomorrow only in the upper teens, upper 20s for Wednesday, and then a couple degrees we add to the temperature each day, taking us into the first part of next week.
Yeah, it looks a little better when you get to next week. Once we get through this. All right, Gary, thanks. Thanks for joining us for News 3 Now at 6. We'll see you back here at 9 to 10.